Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. This is Sia Ayushi Khanna and I am back with the second part of 11th accountancy revision. I hope the previous class has actually helped you to revise few chapters. In this class, we are going to revise our single entry system along with rectifications of error. And yes, as promised, I have to cover the whole syllabus. The provision and reserve whole class will be separately uploaded for you all because I believe that that is the only theory chapter in this year's in this term's syllabus. So definitely there will be some questions regarding the same. Don't miss that video as well and watch this video till the end. So in the last class we have covered trial balance, bills of exchange and final accounts with and without adjustments. Today we'll be covering rectification of error and incomplete records. I hope you all have solved the questions. So let's start with rectification first of all. Most of the students face doubt in this chapter. But ये इतना मुश्किल भी नहीं है if you will focus on it properly. I always say you कि if you need to rectify your errors, first of all you should have the ability to identify the error. For that, you must understand the concepts carefully because if you are aware of the concept, you'll be aware of how to record everything in our journal and ledger. ठीक है लेकिन अगर आपको वही नहीं पता you'll be unable to find out your errors. For this, let's just have a recap of our 5 categories of accounts, their balances. I know it seems to be very boring for you whenever I'm revising that again and again, but ultimately that is the crux. So we have assets and expenses which have debit balance. Then we have liability and income, or you can say revenue, and capital which have credit balance. तो हमने rectification में भी यही देखना है कि what was the entry actually required. तो actual entry, correct entry, and you are going to compare these two to find out your rectified entry. So if we talk about actual entry means wrong treatment in the books. And correct entry means what is the actual treatment required. You will get confused in actual. It is correct treatment in the books of accounts. So whenever we have difference in these two, we actually rectify that. Let's say if there was a transaction related to purchase of machinery, you have purchase of machinery costing rupees 5 lakh. Okay, however, you have recorded that in purchase account. So how to compare this? We are going to compare it like if purchase is my expense and purchase is only related to goods, not machines or not your assets. However, you are purchasing machinery, that means your asset this time. You have wrongly debited your purchase because purchase is your expense, you must have debited it. So your wrong entry will be purchase account debit to cash or bank, howsoever you have purchased it. Please be very careful कि they said कि it was recorded in purchase account, that means there was no change in cash or bank. So this is wrong. So actual entry required in the books of account should be machinery account debit to cash your bank account. Now, if you want to rectify it, you need not to change this cash. Purchase was expense was wrongly debited. If you have wrongly debited it, you need to make it correct. This requires to be credited. And machinery being your asset was debit ना, तो आप इसको रिकॉर्ड करने के लिए इन करेक्ट एंट्री यू नीड टू डेबिट मशीनरी अकाउंट. Alright, now your focus should be there may be mistake in your account type. Let's say in this entry you have taken purchase account instead of machinery account, and there can be mistake in your amounts. So there's a proper procedure how to compare it and how to rectify it. But before that, we actually need to understand what are the types of accounts. Sorry, types of errors we face in this. For types of errors, we have two-sided error and one-sided error. Here, two-sided and one-sided is related to trial balance. We have covered trial balance in our last chapter, in our last class, sorry, and we have covered that trial balance basically has two sides, debit and credit, and we need to show that equal. मतलब अल्टीमेटली अगर आपने कोई भी गलती नहीं की होगी इन योर बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स तो आपका वो बैलेंस टैली करना चाहिए. बट इफ इट इज नॉट मैचिंग, सो व्हाट्स द डिफरेंस बिहाइंड दैट? इट इज वन साइडेड एरर. तो इसीलिए टू साइडेड एरर आर आल्सो कॉल्ड एज errors which do not affect your trial balance. However, if we talk about one-sided error, so these are the errors which affect your trial balance. Now again, under one-sided error, we have two categories की आपने किस पोजीशन पर आइडेंटिफाई किया अपनी मिस्टेक्स को. Let's say this is the whole procedure of creating your books of accounts. Okay. यहाँ पर आपने अपना जनरल एंट्रीज और लेजर वगैरह आप कर रहे हो. Here you have prepared your trial balance. And here you are finalizing your account, तो आप अपना final accounts बना रहे हैं. Your trading, profit and loss, balance sheet, और यहाँ पर आप general and ledger कर रहे हो अभी. So if you have identified error before preparing your trial balance or before closing your books of accounts or without opening your suspense account, अगर ऐसा कुछ भी लिखा होगा ना, that means you need to adjust it through normal उसमें statement form में, या फिर you are going to prepare extract of ledger. So again, it can be rectified using two methods: statement form or it can be extract of ledger. ठीक है? Let's say if they ask you to rectify the entry under casting of sales account by rupees 2000. That means in your sales account you have recorded 2000 less. You need to rectify it. So for rectifying the same, and if they specially mention that you have not closed your books of accounts, or you have identified these errors before closing your books of accounts, before preparing trial balance, before opening suspense account, they can use any wording. And you have to read the first sentence of the question very carefully. Students actually avoid reading the first sentence and they then directly jump to the first part कि ओके आपने क्या एरर किया उसको हम रेक्टिफाई करने चलते हैं. But if you have not read the first line very carefully, you'll be unable to identify how to record it. तो आपको वहां पे गड़बड़ होगी. आप हो सकता है कि आप वन साइडेड एरर को टू साइडेड की तरह से ट्रीट कर रहे हो. आप सस्पेंस अकाउंट यूज कर रहे हो या नहीं कर रहे हो. सो देयर कैन बी एनी प्रॉब्लम रिगार्डिंग दैट. तो ये जो वन साइडेड एरर है, अगर आप ट्रायल बैलेंस से पहले आइडेंटिफाई कर लेते हैं, यू आर गोइंग टू रिकॉर्ड इट लाइक, अगर स्टेटमेंट फॉर्म है, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यू नीड टू आइडेंटिफाई व्हाट इज सेल्स अकाउंट फॉर यू. इट्स रेवेन्यू. What is the balance of revenue? It's credit. And if it is undercasted, that means it is recorded less and you have to increase it. For increasing the same, you need to move in the same direction. That's credit only. So what you are going to do is, you'll be on, like whenever we write on the credit side, we use prefix as to. You'll be writing to undercasting of sales account and by rupees 2000. That's all. Mother, this will be your correction. And in the heading you can write key in the sales account on the credit side will be mentioning this. Or you can create an extract of ledger in such form. You'll be writing here sales account, debit and credit side. On the credit side you are going to write to undercasting.
Isn't it by?
Oh, I'm sorry, to by. Huh. By undercasting of sales account. और अगर परचेज का होता then it would be to undercasting, because purchase is my expense and that needs to be recorded on the debit side. The by undercasting of sales account. And in the amount column, you'll be writing rupees 2000. So this is one way of rectifying your one-sided error. Like in another way is when you have closed your books of accounts, then if you need to make a correction in this, you are going to use suspense account. और ये जो errors which do not affect your trial balance, इसके लिए we are generally going to pass only normal journal entry, normal rectifying entry you can say. Okay. अच्छा, whenever you are using suspense account, इसका logic क्या है पहले तो आप ये देखिए. If you have opened a suspense account, that means you must have prepared your trial balance. You have totaled your debit and credit side. Let's say if your debit side totals to be 5 lakh. However, your credit size total will be 5.5 lakh. That means there is some mistake in it. So you need to rectify it. अभी आपको अगर वो mistake identify नहीं हो रही है तो आप क्या करोगे? You'll be writing the balancing figure in suspense account. So you're going to write 50,000 here. And later on, when you are going to identify your errors, you need to make it correct. तो आप उसकी correction करने के लिए you are going to use suspense account in opposite sides. तो उसके लिए आप क्या करोगे? Let's say if you have got to know कि जो हमने purchase वाला किया, purchase of machinery rupees 1 lakh, no entry made in your machinery account. That means this time ऐसा नहीं है कि आपने गलत अकाउंट में रिकॉर्ड कर दिया, because if you have recorded that in purchase account, purchase is your expense, that will be debit, and if again you are going to write that on in your trial balance, ultimately your balances are gonna match, तो आपको प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगी. That will be two-sided error. लेकिन if we talk about this purchase of machinery, like you have not at all recorded that in machinery account, that means you might have reduced the balance from your um, cash or bank balance, but you have not shown that in machinery account. अब आपको ये तो पता है कि okay, I need to record that in machinery account, तो on debit side I'm gonna record it, it's machinery account debit. But what about other side? What to write here? It would be suspense account. Reason for the same is बच्चों कि you already have this account here. Okay, and you have recorded this just to make a correction later on. Whenever you're going to identify your errors, on the opposite side you'll be writing suspense account, and so as your suspense account will get vanished. Ultimately its debit will be equal to credit, and sometimes they ask you, okay, what was the total of errors, or what was the net amount that has affected your trial balance. तो उस टाइम पे क्या होगा, यू आर गोइंग टू प्रिपेयर योर सस्पेंस अकाउंट, एंड डेफिनेटली जो भी आपने जर्नल एंट्रीज में एरर्स करेक्ट कर रहे हैं, लेट्स से हियर यू हैव रिटन टू सस्पेंस, दैट मींस सस्पेंस वाज क्रेडिटेड ना, on credit side you are going to write by machine. Similarly, you're going to make correction in both the sides, like your debit and credit. But if they ask you what was the amount of errors affecting your trial balance, that means they ultimately wants to know your opening balance of suspense. That can be debit or that can be credit as well. So you need to find as a balancing figure. Okay, and that balancing figure will ultimately be कि आपका ट्रायल बैलेंस बनाते हुए यहाँ पर क्या आया था. Let's say if I'm making the correction of the same trial balance after the same trial balance. So let's say if total is 2 lakh here, and इनका जो errors का total होगा that would be 150. तो ultimately your balancing figure would be 50,000 on credit side. And if your credit side totals more, that means your opening balance was on debit side. I hope it's clear. Everyone, please.
Would you mind repeating the last bit?
Three, if they ask you to know what was the difference in the trial balance, or what is the net amount of what is the net amount of errors affecting your trial balance, that means ultimately they want to know the opening balance.
Yeah.
Opening balance of suspense account, because after making all the rectifications you are just going to adjust your like whole account of suspense account, and your net amount will be zero.
Yes.
So for that it would be just like you're calculating your opening balance of your suspense account. तो आप क्या करोगे, आप जितनी भी आपने journal entries pass किए, you're just going to write there like transfer those entries in your ledger, and you just need to balance that. वो बैलेंस डेबिट साइड पे भी आ सकता है, क्रेडिट पे भी आ सकता है, बट अल्टीमेटली दैट मीन्स व्हाट वाज द नेट अमाउंट इन दैट.
Okay. Thank you.
हाँ जी, what about others, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, all right. So for one-sided error, it's when your errors are identified before preparing your trial balance or after preparing your trial balance. अगर after होगा तो definitely it could be one-sided. अगर बोल रहे हो आप, if it is one-sided, that means you are not aware कि on opposite side what should we transfer to just settle the account. So you just need to use suspense account for all that. And if we talk about this one, two-sided error, ultimately for this it's really basic. आपको सिर्फ ये समझना है कि मैंने गलती करी कहाँ पर है and how to correct it. Is the error related to account type, account balance, or the amount? So आप वो mistake identify करके you are just going to reverse it. अब इसके लिए मैंने आपको कुछ I guess I have not discussed that with you, लेकिन in my new batch for revision I have discussed a new trick for this. Let's say if you are standing here, let us just divide the whole portion into two balances. It can be like this, or like whatever you want, or it can be like this, जो भी आपको आसान लगे. This is the neutral position, okay, where it's zero. Let's say if we take this as debit side and this as credit side, or we take this as debit side and this as credit side. अभी आपने अगर कुछ परचेज किया है, नहीं परचेज का हो गया, you have paid to your creditors, okay, rupees 5,000, but it was wrongly debited to your creditor account. Let's say if your creditor is Mr. Z. तो अब क्या होगा? This is the position of Mr. Z. उनको आपको किस तरफ मूव करना चाहिए था? If you have, oh, I'm sorry, you have paid to it ना, you have wrongly credited it. If you have credit purchase, तो आप इसको अपना डेबिट के उसमें डालिए, that would be correct. Rectified यहाँ पे लिखते हैं wrongly credited. Now please tell me, if this is your position, okay, he's your creditor. If you want to make his payment, आपने payment कर दी है. His balance should move to debit or credit.
Debit.
Debit, because you are going to reduce its value. आपने क्या किया? You have wrongly taken to this side. अब कुछ बच्चों को कंफ्यूजन होती है कि हमें डेबिट तक जाना है, तो आई शुड जस्ट डेबिट द सेम अमाउंट, दैट्स ऑल. लेट्स से इफ इट इज 5,000, तो आपको 5,000 से ही उसको डेबिट कर देना चाहिए. बट बच्चों प्लीज ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड, this is not the position he was on or he needs to be there. आप एक नई पोजीशन पे आ चुके हो. If you want to reach your debit of 5,000 rupees, यहाँ पर है 5,000 rupees का debit. What you need to do is, first you need to reach your neutral position. From that you will be able to reach your debit position. Directly आप 5,000 से वहाँ पे पहुँच ही नहीं सकते हो. That means this is the reversal of credit now. 5,000 debit plus 5,000 debit. So you should credit him, oh sorry, debit him by 10,000. तो आप क्या करोगे? Debit 10,000 to suspense account. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
And अगर आप इसको ध्यान से देखें ना, this method is really interesting. और आप बहुत ही बेसिक तरीके से समझ सकते हैं. वेयर एवर यू आर लिविंग, यू कैन कंपेयर योर एरिया विद टू ऑपोजिट साइड्स लोकेशन. और आप अपने आप को कंपेयर कीजिए कि लेट्स से इफ आई वांट टू मूव टू लाइक नॉर्थ डायरेक्शन, इफ आई हैव रॉन्गली मूव टू साउथ डायरेक्शन, तो आपको डबल डिस्टेंस कवर करना पड़ेगा टू रीच टू योर डेस्टिनेशन. करेक्ट. लेट्स हैव वन मोर एग्जांपल. Wages paid rupees 10,000, wrongly debited to his personal account. अब हमें उनके पर्सनल अकाउंट में तो ट्रांसफर करना ही नहीं चाहिए, तो मुझे उनका पर्सनल अकाउंट करेक्ट करना है. लेट्स से इफ इट वाज डेबिटेड टू हिज पर्सनल अकाउंट, दैट मींस वो उनकी ये पोजीशन थी, उनके इसमें ट्रांसफर करना ही नहीं चाहिए था. अगर आपने इनको डेबिट किया है by rupees 10,000 just to rectify this, you need not to move to credit direction. आपको सिर्फ इनको खत्म करना है, तो आप सिर्फ यहीं तक रिवर्सल करोगे. दैट मीन्स रुपीज 10,000 क्रेडिट. हर जगह पर डबल अमाउंट यूज नहीं होती है. It might be possible that two accounts are affected. Let's say if you need to debit wages here and you need to credit his personal account, और आप बाकी बचा वो अपना सस्पेंस अकाउंट में डालेंगे. या फिर इसमें तो अगर डायरेक्टली रेक्टिफाई हो रहा है लाइक 10,000 अगर हम लिख दें डेबिट टू हिज पर्सनल अकाउंट बाय रुपीज 20,000, तो अब आप क्या करोगे कि इनको क्रेडिट करोगे 20,000 से, क्योंकि डेबिट हुआ था 20,000 से. However, actual wages paid are just 10,000. So it would be your wages account debit 10,000 because that was not at all recorded. To your workers account, workers personal account, that's it, it's 20,000, and remaining balance needs to be transferred to suspense account. So suspense account debit. Is that clear? Everyone, please revert. Okay. Sri, Joshua, Arav, Prachi, any
Yes,
doubt?
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, please.
So this was when your accounts are going to be affected, when your trial balance will be affected, और टू साइडेड एरर में होगा when it won't affect it. ठीक है. अब ये तो हुआ एक चीज जो रेक्टिफिकेशन में आपको मेजर ठीक करने को आएगा, बट प्लीज प्लीज बी वेरी केयरफुल. देयर आर टू मेथड्स. डायरेक्टली यू कैन गो विद योर रेक्टिफाइड एंट्री, और you can write your incorrect entry, correct entry, and then compare it and rectify it. But it's true, if you're going to write three entries, it will be time taking. तो आपको अगर ऐसा है कि you need to save your time, so please polish your brain with more and more practice. Try to identify कि what mistake have you actually done only by analyzing your mistake in your brain. आपको वो लिखने की जरूरत ना पड़े. But if it's like you're unable to identify that, please don't force yourself. Try to manage your time properly. अगर आप directly identify करके rectifying entry pass नहीं कर पा रहे हो तो it's okay. Try to write the actual entry recorded, the correct entry recorded, then compare these two and write the meaning. ठीक है. Sri, I'll be taking your questions after that, but first let me start with single entry system. I hope the base of rectification chapter is all clear. Is there
Yes,
anything you would like to this? No. Let's start with single entry system. So जितना भी हमने accounts 11th class में पूरा पढ़ा है, that is all based on double entry system. But whenever your business is too small, you need not to have special accountants. Even you are not having basic knowledge of accounts like debit, credit, and all that. तो बहुत बार ऐसा होता है that we follow single entry system for recording our books of accounts. So for single entry system, there is no such rule, debit, credit, or the types of accounts and all that. They just record all the entries in a very basic manner, and they prepare statement of calculation of profit or loss. And one more thing, they prepare statement of affairs. That means it's really clear. You're not going to prepare your trading profit and loss account and balance sheet because you don't follow your double entry system. But statement of affairs is just the copy of balance sheet. The way we have prepared balance sheet till now, वैसा ही हम statement of affairs prepare करेंगे. It would be like a T-shaped column. We'll be writing same thing: liabilities, amount, assets, amount. There'll be no debit credit. In the liability side, you're going to record your capital, closing capital. Okay, and if there are some calculations, let's say if it's like opening capital plus additional capital minus drawings plus net profit you have earned during the year, that all can be done in your working notes. If you feel like you'll lead to cutting in your main answer या फिर वो थोड़ा सा mess create होगा, so it's better to go with working notes. And it might be possible they directly ask you to prepare your statement of profit and loss or calculation of profit and loss. तो आप उसमें कैलकुलेट करेंगे तो देर बी नो सेपरेट वर्किंग नोट रिक्वायर्ड. Second thing, they are going to ask you to record all the liabilities, whatever is given in the question, and all assets will be recorded on this side. And whatever the totals you have, that should tell you. This is the same as balance sheet. लेकिन क्योंकि हम double entry system proper follow नहीं कर रहे, then we are going to depend on single entry, so as we are preparing statement of affairs for this. Now let's come to statement of calculation of profit and loss. Let's try to understand what is the relation in क्लोजिंग कैपिटल, ओपनिंग कैपिटल और उन सबको आप कैसे रिलेट कर सकते हो फॉर प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस. Again, the same method. Owner is standing here on 1st April, let's say 2021. Now he stands here on 31st March 2022. यहाँ पर जो होगा ना इनका, that will be called as opening capital. And here he will be having closing capital. Now let's say what all changes takes place during the year. You please have to tell me. If he has introduced additional capital, will that be addition or subtraction from opening?
Addition to opening capital.
So you are going to add additional capital. Joshua, what if there is some drawings during the year? How would you adjust it? Are you there?
Yes, yes.
If there is drawings during the year, Joshua, so what will be its impact on your capital? Will that be reducing it or increasing it?
We are reducing.
That means we are going to subtract our drawings minus drawings. Arav, if you earn profit during the year, will you add that in your capital or subtract it?
Add, ma'am.
Prachi, if you are incurring losses, then what?
Mom, subtract.
Subtract. Bas. This is all about your statement of profit and loss. And this is really interesting. Once you know the concept, आपको इसमें से कुछ भी calculate करने को कहेंगे, आप easily calculate कर पाओगे. Whether it's profit, it's loss, additional capital, drawings, whatever it may be. They can ask you to calculate opening capital, closing capital. आप आराम से कर पाएंगे. Just have a look on this within few seconds. Then I'll be discussing more. Once done, let me know.
Done.
What about others? Shah, Araf, done? Okay. Joshua?
Done, teacher.
Okay. Look, if they ask you to prepare a statement for calculation of your profit and loss, that means you are going to use all such items and you'll calculate your profit or your loss. तो मैंने क्या किया? If I need to calculate closing stock using opening stock, that will be opening capital. You need to calculate closing capital using opening capital. It would be opening capital plus additional capital plus profits. If there is any loss, you need to subtract it minus drawings. यू विल रीच क्लोजिंग स्टॉक. तो अगर हम इसकी एक स्टेटमेंट बनाना चाहें ना, इक्वेशन, इट इज क्लोजिंग कैपिटल. अब आप इसको ठीक करोगे तो कैसे करोगे, देखो. इफ दे हैव आस्क्ड यू टू कैलकुलेट प्रॉफिट और लॉस, इन दोनों में से कोई एक ही होगा डेफिनेटली. इफ दे आर आस्किंग यू टू कैलकुलेट दिस, keep it here only. If answer will be negative तो वो लॉस होगा, अगर पॉजिटिव तो वो प्रॉफिट होगा. अब इसको और कैसे करेंगे आगे. क्लोजिंग कैपिटल, you'll be taking rest of the items to opposite side, and it's really clear and it's basic. Whenever we move the values from one hand side to another hand side, let's say left to right, right to left, we change the signs. Then this opening capital is positive, you'll take it here. Closing capital will be, opening capital will be negative. Minus additional capital plus drawings. This will be your profit or loss. That's all. You need not to recall any new formula. This is all related. तो अगर हम इसी को अपना स्टेटमेंट फॉर्म में लिखना चाहें तो कैसे करोगे आप. You'll start with closing capital. You'll subtract opening capital, profit, additional capital. You'll add अगर कोई loss. So sorry, we need to calculate profit or loss. We are not going to adjust it here. Rather will be adding drawings. और इसका नेट कैलकुलेशन करके जो भी आएगा आपका आंसर, दैट विल बी प्रॉफिट और लॉस. इज इट क्लियर. Any doubt in statement of profit and loss?
No, no.
Okay. But if I'm asking you, you need to do what now? Why should I like ask every time by your names?
Okay, ma'am.
This all is done. Now, क्वेश्चन में वो आपको कैसे कंफ्यूज कर सकते हैं. They might not provide you opening capital. प्राची, मेरी आवाज नहीं आई. Statement of affairs, if they don't provide you opening capital, how can you calculate it? They'll be providing you rest of the items like your assets, your liabilities, and your balancing figure will be called here as capital. क्योंकि आपका ये टोटल आप करेंगे एंड आपको अगर कैपिटल नहीं दी गई तो कैलकुलेट अपने कैपिटल फ्रॉम हियर. Then you'll be preparing your statement of profit and loss. Using that, आपको प्रॉफिट या लॉस निकालना है, बट फॉर दैट यू नीड ओपनिंग कैपिटल एज वेल एज क्लोजिंग कैपिटल. तो आपके पास दो मेथड्स होंगे. या तो आपको वो कुछ हिंट्स देंगे प्रॉफिट कैलकुलेट करने के लिए, नहीं तो वो आपको क्लोजिंग कैपिटल खुद से प्रोवाइड करेंगे. सो यू आर जस्ट गोइंग टू कैलकुलेट क्लोजिंग कैपिटल फ्रॉम हियर एज बैलेंसिंग फिगर. So closing capital, and that will be balancing figure. Again, by taking all your assets and liabilities of the year. So this will be your opening statement of affairs. This will be your closing statement of affairs. Okay, and if you have got these two values, you'll put into the statement and you'll find out your profit or loss. अब वो एडिशनल कैपिटल पे कुछ ट्रिक्स करते हैं. In general, they'll say owner sold a personal property or investment of rupees 20,000 at a premium or profit of, let's say, 20%, and invested the amount in capital. So if they have invested the amount in the capital, that means it's your additional capital. So this additional capital needs to be calculated. आप गलती से भी 20,000 मत लेना, because your sales value is invested in the business, and your sales value is cost plus profit. So it will be 20 plus 20% of 20,000 is 4,000. So your additional investment will be 24,000. So this was all about these two chapters, and as I said earlier, provision and reserves will be separately uploaded before your exams. So stay tuned, please subscribe the channel so as to get regular updates for all the three main subjects of commerce streams, not only for 11th and 12th, but some general studies as well, which will help you to crack your higher studies exams as well. Thank you so much. Have a good day.